everybody, and welcome back to More Than a Muse. I'm Stauney.
And I'm Sadie. And happy week of Valentines.
Yes.
Galentines, whatever you.
Do you have
Yeah.
any fun plans?
No, actually.
Yeah.
This Valentine's, Jordan said he's got it. And I said, cool. I might go get him like a cake somewhere and ask him to be my Valentine
Oh,
officially.
cute.
I feel like
Love
that's
that.
cute, but I feel like
Yeah.
Valentine's is always the minimum effort, low
I
key, or like
know.
be as cheesy as possible too. Like
Yeah.
I like being kitschy for Valentine's Day.
I agree. It's a very kitschy holiday, and as it
Yeah,
should be.
embrace the kitsch.
I don't have anything major. I'm just excited because Mo's going to be in town, so I get to see
Oh,
him. So
yay.
that is the benefit.
And for
hmm
context, Stauney is in a long distance relationship.
And it sucks.
Yeah,
He's
I can
great.
only imagine.
The
The
distance
distance
sucks.
sucks. Yeah.
Very happy with the relationship. Very sad about the amount of distance between us. But
That's exciting. At least you get to spend
yeah,
Valentine's together then,
I
in a
know. It'll
way.
be good. Should we talk about Valentine's Day for a bit?
Yeah, let's
But in a
talk
more
about
historical
Valentine's
setting?
Day.
Yeah. So I have obviously, when Safari brings up like suggested articles, or I don't know if it's Google who does it or whatever, but always on
Mm-hmm.
my phone, I end up getting suggested articles from all the things we Google for the podcast. I usually end up getting very on theme ones. And one this morning was the dark history of Valentine's Day. And I was like, ooh, tell me more.
Oh, the dark history. Oh, no.
Okay, so the history of Valentine's Day is a mysterious one, apparently, because they're not sure entirely the whole story behind Saint Valentine, who it's named after.
Mm.
They know that February has long been celebrated as a month of romance, and then obviously Saint Valentine's Day, as we know it today, has like Christian and Roman traditions a little bit wrapped together into it. But there is 3 different saints recognized by the Catholic Church as Saint Valentine or Valentinus. All of them were martyrs.
Interesting.
Yes. So one kind of legend behind it is that Valentine was a priest who served during the 3rd century in Rome when Emperor Claudius II decided that single men made better soldiers than those with wives and families. He outlawed marriage for young men. Valentine, realizing the injustice of the decree, defied him and continued to perform marriages for young lovers in secret.
Whoa.
Yes. However, apparently he was discovered and Claudius ordered that he be put to death. Others do insist, though, that it was St. Valentine of Terni, who was a bishop, but he too was actually beheaded by Claudius II outside of Rome. Other stories suggest that Valentine may have been killed for attempting to help Christians escape harsh Roman prisons, where they were often beaten and tortured.
Yeah.
One of the popular legends is that an imprisoned Valentine actually sent the first Valentine greeting himself after he fell in love with a young girl, possibly his jailer's daughter, who visited him during his confinement. And before his death, it's alleged that he wrote her a letter signed "From Your Valentine." And by the Middle Ages, probably due to the reputation of Valentine, he would end up being one of the most popular saints in England and France. So then it comes down to the date, right? Some people believe that it's because of the anniversary of Valentine's death or burial, which would have been around AD 270, by the way. Cool.
So this is a old holiday.
Yeah. But others claim that the Christian church may have decided to place it in the middle of February in an effort to Christianize the pagan celebration of Lupercalia, which I mean isn't that unheard of. They've done that with quite a few celebrations. Lupercalia is celebrated at the Ides of February, which would be around February 15th. And Lupercalia was a fertility festival dedicated to Faunus, the Roman god of agriculture, as well to the Roman founders Romulus and Remus, where if you remember their story when they were infants, they had to be cared for by a she-wolf, which they call like a lupa, and they had to drink the milk from the wolf in order to survive, is the legend. So then the priest during that time would sacrifice a goat for fertility and a dog for purification. And then they would strip the goat's hide into strips, dip them in sacrificial blood, and then slap women.
Was not expecting that part.
Yeah. With the goat hide, with the blood all over it. And rather than
for fertility?
Yes. And it was like a celebrated thing. Like the women weren't like afraid of it. So I'm hoping they weren't like slapping that hard.
Yeah.
Because it was believed to make them more fertile in the coming year. And then later in the day, according to legend, the women in the city would all place their names in a giant urn Then the bachelors would all choose a name, and then they were paired together for that year with the chosen woman. A lot of the times the matches ended in marriage. So I guess it was like their own kind of dating system. Like, here, you're her
Yeah.
partner for the year, and if you like each other, then you get married.
You can
So
make this last.
yeah. So who knows?
Whoa.
But obviously they were like, oh, that's unchristian. So it was outlawed at the end of the 5th century when Pope Galatius declared February 14th St. Valentine's Day. But it wasn't until later that day it became like definitively associated with love and romance. There's a couple of other reasons why they think maybe February 14th was chosen. It was believed in France and England during the Middle Ages that February 14th was the beginning of the bird's mating season, which added to
Oh.
the idea that the middle of February, Valentine's Day, would be like a day for romance. And then the English poet Chaucer was actually the first to record St. Valentine's Day as a day of romantic celebration in his poem in 1375, Parliament of
Wow.
the Fowls, saying, "For this was sent on St. Valentine's Day, when every fowl cometh there to choose his mate."
It seems like it's a lot of just like odd coincidences
Yeah.
happening that made
No,
it so that this is a holiday.
they had
Like
written
the
Valentines
uh-huh.
appearing after the 1400s. They said one of the oldest ones is from 1415, which was by Charles, Duke of Orleans, to his wife while he was imprisoned in the Tower of London, which now they're curious if Henry V chose a writer to compose a Valentine for Catherine of Valois for him too, which is a funny idea, but would make sense. You hire someone
Mm-hmm.
to write your Valentine. And yeah, it started being celebrated in the 17th and 18th century for as it is now. And then the 1900s printed cards
Yep.
were an easy way. And that actually came about because of a woman. In the 1840s, Esther A. Holland began selling the first mass produced Valentines in America, known as the Mother of the Valentine. She would make
Oh,
elaborate creations with real lace, ribbons, and colorful pictures known as scrap, and started selling
amazing.
them for people to send out. And
So
apparently,
shout
postage
out.
was also really cheap during around that time. So then everyone was like, oh, of course. And today, according to Hallmark, an estimated 145 million Valentine's Day cards are sent each year, making Valentine's Day the second largest card sending holiday of the year, the first, of course, being Christmas.
That makes sense.
But isn't it crazy? Like all these little
Yeah.
things all coming together, and now we have Valentine's Day.
Yeah. And now elementary schools around the nation decorate shoeboxes to get their
Yes.
individual fun dips from their classmates.
Yep.
Wow.
The
That is kind of
romance of it
magical,
all.
actually. I remember being a kid and having Valentine's Day be a very big deal.
I remember getting like a random teddy bear necklace or something from some kid I had never spoken to before in junior high. And I
Wow.
was like, oh, and then I found out he'd done it to 3 different girls, and then it felt less special.
That does feel that special, but he was really just trying to see which one stuck.
I know, but it was a really pretty necklace. I actually think I still have it somewhere.
Amazing. Obsessed. Originally, the idea for the episode today was like thinking about love letters and what is the history of love letters. I also went and found some like famous love letters that I'm very excited to read because they are quite warm in my heart. So,
No, that's one of the things I loved about the history of Valentine's Day. I feel like the letter
mhm,
part is so ingrained in it, which is funny because
totally.
now I don't think we think about that as much. Oh, the Valentine's Day cards. That's
Mhm.
the whole point of the
That
holiday was
is
like,
like in elementary school, that's the point. It's the cards
yeah.
with the messages that you pass out to people.
Yeah. But now I think
Mhm.
everyone's, oh, no, it's flowers or
Chocolates,
chocolates or
it's
something. Like,
gifts.
no, it's
It's the
love letters.
cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes it cute.
I also just love the idea. Some things you forget that there had to be like a first or it had to be invented,
Yeah.
you know? That's
So
how I
true.
felt like when we were researching the history of love letters, and the very first reference to it was Songs of Solomon in the Bible. And it was like,
Yes.
oh yeah, yeah, that is a love letter. And
Mm-hmm.
also just the fact that this is something that had to be invented, which
Yeah.
how are we defining love letter? A handwritten description of devotion and undying love. Or I guess whatever you decide a love letter
Yeah.
is. In the
I'm
modern
like,
age, love letters are
probably more like
a
texts.
text. Yeah. I think we could call a lengthy text a love
Yeah.
letter.
I think they definitely can be.
Totally. But one of the earliest mentions of a love letter appears over 5,000 years ago in Indian mythology actually. It's in the Bhagavata Purana, if I'm hopefully saying that right. Book 10, Chapter 52. The declaration of love in question is addressed to King Krishna by Princess Rukmini, and describes a passionate and enduring love followed by a proposal. The very first ones.
Yeah.
Ancient Egypt and imperial early love letters were equally pragmatic and purpose-driven to basically be a marriage betrothal, which I think that's pretty consistent, right?
Yeah.
Also, ancient Rome and the playwrights, they were the central work of Ovid, most in the plays Ars Amatoria, or just Art of Love. The point is it's been around since the beginning of time, which is sweet. That the one thing that always connects us, no matter if it's the beginning text, is that we have been writing each other love letters all the way from ancient Egypt to now.
This is actually making me rethink Valentine's Day proposals. I used to always think they were super cheesy, but now I'm like, maybe it's just a historical tradition.
Maybe it's the thing that links humanity. I don't know.
The whole idea of a love letter or a speech and then followed by a proposal.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, yeah, I'm like that is
beautiful.
Pretty. Yeah.
The Middle Ages saw like a transition from the love letter to just being like a declaration of just romance to more being like an art form. More people were writing. People were just good at writing. Think about, I don't know, just the romantic writers from that era. And then continuing on with F. Scott Fitzgerald, Virginia Woolf. They were popular for their letters. And that was obviously a main correspondence at the time.
Yeah, that's true.
I think.
Even if you watch Bridgerton, you'll realize they communicated a lot more by letter than I think even that show depicts.
Absolutely. Think of all of the artists that we've covered and the women that we've covered and how we know so much of them from the letters that they sent that they still have. And like think of Emily Dickinson.
Yes.
And all of her love letters to, what's her name?
Isn't it Virginia Sackville West?
Susan.
Okay. Who am I thinking of?
Sister-in-law.
No, Virginia Woolf and Vita Sackville West. They also had a lot of love letters.
I mean, just by the fact that it was a very accessible form of long-distance communication. They didn't have emails, so they had to get it all out. They didn't they didn't get to send a lot. Some of the most notable love letter writers are Margaret Mead, Ruth Benedict, even Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera, even First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt. You know, now here we are. Digital communication, which obviously a lot easier than sending a letter, but I think it's important to I like writing the letters. My goal for every Valentine's Day is to find the most obnoxious cheesy card at the grocery store, and that's my Valentine's card.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I'm like, it would be hard it's not like your kids after you die can go back and archive all of your text messages and print them off and keep them. But that's a really fun thing about, I think, heirlooms is being able to go through old letters and learn about different circumstances and stuff.
It's going to be interesting. I don't know, especially because I think about the amount of we had all of our home videos on DVDs for a while.
Yeah.
And we did that thinking that would be forever. And then my dad had to transfer all of these videos onto files on our computer, but you had to have done that a while ago because now most computers don't even have a DVD portal anymore.
True.
And it's just interesting that you think these forms of technology are going to be around forever, but then you don't know. What if the cloud that all of our photos are saved in right now that could go down?
Poof. But you know what hasn't disappeared? The postage system.
So true. Physical photos continues. And physical letters.
They can get burned in a fire or something. You know what I mean?
Physical things can't be destroyed, which is very
true. Just the fact that even though you can't, I can't watch a DVD on my computer, but I can go mail a letter.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Some of these systems that have been in place though for this long, sometimes it's crazy to me. How does the mail work? Or packages?
I know.
How do they actually get it where they're supposed to go? And that's been around for a long time. That's really something that's crazy because right now that existing feels like a far-fetched concept to me. That I can just put in my little numbers and my Amazon
I'm thinking the same thing with text messages though, where I'm like, is it just floating through the air?
I don't know how anything around me works at all. How are we even doing this podcast right now?
I don't know. You're in Nashville. I'm in Utah.
We're miles apart.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Anyways, love how this episode has just turned into random existential musings on technology.
How does it work?
Stamps also as a kid confused me because it always said 99 cents. And like, I understand now that like you paid for those stamps and it's almost like proof of your purchase, but put something on there.
It's weird too, because then people like collect them and stuff, and then they're worth more than what it says.
There's a lot to be confused about.
There is a crazy world out there.
All right. Any other history stuff, or should we just share some love letter examples?
Because I'm share excited some for this love letters. Yeah, we've got some examples, and then we've got, love letters now and the ways that they're being changed. And
okay, the first one is from General Napoleon Bonaparte to Citizeness Josephine Bonaparte.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, Napoleon has a way with words, okay?
But did he hire someone?
Probably. I don't know a lot about Bonaparte. And if anyone is listening to this is like, I thought you had a history podcast. True, but I cover women in history. I don't know anything about him.
The little I know about him is because I have a hyperfixation on Marie Antoinette.
Valid.
Yes. Hence why I do know a little bit of Napoleon Bonaparte. Because I was like, okay, did killing Marie Antoinette actually solve anything? And to be perfectly honest, no, it didn't. Because then Napoleon Bonaparte came in and then they had to get rid of him.
Well, he did love someone once.
Good for him.
A few days ago, I thought I loved you. But since I last saw you, I feel I love you 1,000 times more. All the time I have known you, I adore you more every day. Everything in nature has its own life and different stages of growth. I beg you, let me see some of your faults. Be less beautiful, less graceful, less kind, less good. My one and only Josephine, apart from you, there is no joy. Away from you, the world is a desert where I am alone and cannot open my heart. You have taken more than my soul. You are the one thought of my life. When I am tired of the worry of work, when I fear the outcome, when men annoy me.
Relatable.
Real. When I am ready to curse being alive, I put my hand on my heart. Your portrait hangs there. I look at it, and love brings me perfect happiness. Oh, my adorable wife. I don't know what fate has in store for me, but if it keeps me apart from you any longer, it will be unbearable. My courage is not enough for that. Come and join me. Before we die, let us at least be able to say we have so many happy days.
Aw, that is cute.
That is quite nice. Something that I'm actually doing right now is I also write custom songs for people. It's a company called Songfinch. People hire me to write songs, and it is Valentine's Day coming up. So a lot of people are putting in their Valentine's Day orders. And I'm not going to lie, it's really adorable because how it works is they will pretty much answer questions about what's your relationship story? What's your favorite thing about this person? And what are the 3 things you for sure want to be in the song? And I was just looking over one. And I was just like, oh, this is so romantic, because this person was just like, she's my life, she's my beauty, she's my rock. And it's just, if you're struggling with your hope in humanity, it's just nice to see those reminders that there are people who just love each other so deeply. And I don't know, it's so beautiful.
No, that is really sweet.
Random man out there that's just so obsessed with his wife paid me to write a song for her. It's so nice.
I love that. I was also thinking we should bring back hanging a portrait on your chest over your heart for your loved one. Or Nosferatu, he has her locks of hair and flowers that he carries with him
everywhere.
Don't make me your phone background. Put my lock of hair in a locket and carry it with you everywhere you go.
Your chest. I won't think it's creepy, I swear.
It's just, there's something so romantic about that. Having a little memento of your loved one that you take with you everywhere you go.
I know. Yeah. I love it too.
Okay, so this is Percy Shelley to Mary Goodwin Shelley, which of course we have an episode on them and their gothic, intense love.
Yes, intense
so
indeed.
Of course they're in here. That's very fitting for them. This was Sunday, the 23rd of August, 1818. As my dearest Mary, we arrived here last night at 12 o'clock, and it is now before breakfast the next morning. I can, of course, tell you nothing of the future, and though I shall not close this letter till post time, yet I do not know exactly when that is. Yet if you are very impatient, look along the letter, and you will see another date when I may have something to relate. But the time presses. I am now going to the banker's to send you some money for the journey, which I shall address to you at Florence post office. Pray come instantly to Este, where I shall be waiting in utmost anxiety for your arrival. Do you know, dearest, how this letter was written? By scrap and patches and interrupted every minute. The gondola is now coming to take me to the banker's. SD is a little place, and the house found without difficulty. I shall count 4 days for this letter, 1 day for packing, 4 for coming here, and the 9th or 10th the day when we shall meet. I am too late for the post, but I will send you an express to overtake it. Enclosed is an order for £50. If you know all that I have to do, dearest love, be well, be happy, come to me, confide in your constant and affectionate PBS. P.S. Kiss the blue-eyed darlings for me and do not let William forget me. Clara cannot recollect me.
Oh, I know.
I love that I'll send this the minute the post is ready. I missed it because I was writing you, but
Yeah.
I'll express it.
It's like just the beautiful mundanity
Yes.
of it all,
It's cute.
This is Richard Burton to Elizabeth Taylor, which is also another person that we have talked about. Elizabeth Taylor. It seems to me to myself that no man was ever before to any woman what you are to me. Wow. The fullness must be in proportion to the vacancy, and only I know what was behind the long wilderness without the blossoming rose and the capacity for happiness, like a black gaping hole before the silver flooding. Is it wonderful that I should stand as in a dream and disbelieve not you, but my own fate? Was ever anyone taken suddenly from a lampless dungeon and placed upon the pinnacle of a mountain, without the head turning round and the heart turning faint as mine do? And you love me more, you say? How shall I ever prove what my heart is to you? How will you ever see it as I feel it?
Wow. I would like to be compared to being taken from a lampless dungeon and placed on the pinnacle of a mountain.
Like, I'm blushing.
I know. I'm like, man, bring this back.
Totally.
Talking about making romance alive again. Write me a love letter. Okay, this one is fictional, but it's got to be one of the best examples of a love letter that there has ever been because it's so good. And of course, it's by Jane Austen. How could it not be? Literally the queen of romance, who we have done an episode on as well. Definitely go check out our Jane Austen episode. But this is Frederick Wentworth to Anne Elliot in Persuasion. And he says, how did I love before I knew you? Before I possessed your affection, I reckon upon your love as something that is to endure when everything that can perish has perished. Though my trust is sometimes mingled with fear because I feel myself unworthy of your love. But if I am unworthy of it, you will always love me. And if there be anything good and pure in me, it will be proved by my always loving you. There's also, hold on, I'm going to see if I can find the other line from it too that I love because he writes a very long letter.
Yes. I was reading something too about Jane Austen about she obviously uses like letter writing as like a very important way to like
she does.
But this was like the first love letter in all of it.
Definitely. Darcy and Elizabeth, of course, have multiple correspondence as well, but
you,
a
like,
lot of their pinnacle.
One of the letters, but he doesn't express his love.
No, Wentworth does. Okay, here we go. Oh gosh, it's all so good. She's read the whole book to you.
Yeah, and now this is an audiobook.
But he says, you pierce my soul. I am half agony, half hope. Tell me not that I am too late, that such precious feelings are gone forever. I offer myself to you again with a heart even more your own than when you almost broke it 8.5 years ago.
No, Wentworth, no.
It's so good. And then I think later he says, I must go, uncertain of my fate, but I shall return hither or follow your party as soon as possible. A word, a look will be enough to decide whether I enter your father's house this evening or never. So he's just look at me the right way and I'll come and fight for you again. Yeah, it's so good. If you guys haven't seen Persuasion, highly recommend it. I actually like the version with, I think it's Dakota Johnson.
Oh, really?
Yes, I like that one the most. I feel like they were able to get a little bit more of Anne Elliot's like quirky personality across in it because her family freaking sucks. But she's really great and I feel like that one's really good. It's on Netflix.
Cool.
Yeah, recommend that one. But yeah, that letter, you guys, it's such a good one.
It's a good one. From Johnny Cash to June Carter. We've also shouted them out in a previous episode because a couple of Valentine's days ago, we did like good couples in the art world and music. So we shouted them out as a good couple.
Yeah.
And happy birthday, princess. We get old and get used to each other. We think alike. We read each other's minds. We know what the world wants without asking. Sometimes we irritate each other a little bit, maybe sometimes take each other for granted. But once in a while, like today, I meditate on it and realize how lucky I am to share my life with the greatest woman I have ever met. You still fascinate and inspire me. You influence me for the better. You're the object of my desire, the number one earthly reason for my existence. And I love you very much. I almost got choked up. That is
I
so
know.
nice.
They're so cute.
Yeah.
Johnny Cash and June Carter are just adorable.
Yeah, it's pretty cute.
And then our last little historical example is King Henry VIII.
Yes.
Okay.
Side thing. I actually literally today finished a book about Anne Boleyn. Justice for Anne Boleyn. And
Seriously,
I
though.
think King Henry is the biggest whiner. Whiner isn't the right word. But at one point I was reading this book and I turned to Jordan and I said, so everything is King Henry's fault. And Jordan said, yeah, much.
Yeah.
Upcoming
That's
episode.
the context.
Yes. There was a moment where he loved her.
Yeah.
It's just whatever happened afterwards was not great. This is in a moment in time, but we do not approve of this relationship or this man.
No. I bet you could assume at most places in history we're on the side of the woman, and correctly so.
Yes.
So he says, my mistress and friend, my heart and I surrender ourselves into your hands, beseeching you to hold us contented to your favor, and that by absence your affection
yeah.
Okay, to us may not be lessened, for it were a great pity to increase our pain, of which absence produces enough and more than I could ever have thought be felt. Reminding us of a point in astronomy when it is this: the longer the days are, the more distant is the sun, and nevertheless the hotter. So it is with our love, for by absence we are kept at distance from one another, and yet it retains its further, at least on my side. I hope the like on yours, assuring you that on my part the pain of absence is already too great for me.
Wow. Well,
it's a good one.
That is a good one, unfortunately.
Yep.
I'm just going to not give him the credit. He probably had his courtiers doing that for him.
He was a king. He probably was like, who's the best poet in the land?
Come write my love letters.
Yeah. So a few other things we're going to talk about. There's a lot of like mystique and legend, and I feel like everything surrounding the idea of like letters and love letters in general. So I thought it would be fun to talk about a few of those examples and how like love letters have taken on this new life of their own in a lot of instances. So the first one is Lana Del Rey's song National Anthem, which is good. And
I love that song.
Yeah, apparently it's that outro.
Okay.
And it's like a reworked version of Jackie Kennedy's love letter to JFK after his assassination. So it's not like word for word, but it's like from a lot of things that she said and adding to it. And it's really beautiful, actually. It says, and I remember when I had met him, it was so clear that he was the only one for me. We both knew it right away, and as the years went on, things got more difficult. We were faced with more challenges. I begged him to stay, try to remember what we had at the beginning. He was charismatic, magnetic, electric, and everybody knew it. When he walked in, every woman's head turned. Everyone stood up to talk to him. He was like this hybrid, this mix of a man who couldn't contain himself. I always got the sense that he became torn between being a good person and missing out on all the opportunities that life could offer a man as magnificent as him. And in that way, I understood him, and I loved him, and I still love him.
Wow.
It's so good, especially with like the backdrop of that song. And I think in the beginning, she starts out in the music video singing like Marilyn Monroe with the Happy Birthday, Mr. President.
Yeah.
And then ending it with, it's really good.
Well,
so,
the moment that we are done, I will be rewatching that music video. Because
when I was
I
thinking,
did not know that context.
Yeah, when I was thinking of love letters, this one immediately came to mind because I remember hearing that outro in high school and being like, what is that from? And then the context behind it and being like, oh, like when a guy is just everything that he could be. And like, there's just so much to it that I'm like, Lana.
Yeah.
You did it.
So real.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't know this, that Florence Welch in Queen of Peace, like based off of Zelda and F. Scott Fitzgerald letters.
I didn't either until this one.
So another thing to go listen to.
I know. I'm like, okay. Yeah, we need to look more into Zelda Fitzgerald. We keep like talking about it.
How have we not done an episode on Zelda Fitzgerald?
I know it's going to be heavy, and I know there's a lot of controversy because there's a lot of beliefs that he stole her writings for his most popular books. So it's just one of those ones that we've been like, oof,
It's
we
gonna make
need
me feel
to.
really bad.
Yeah, we're like, but how angry do I want to get? Yeah, another one I wanted to bring up is You've Got Mail. I know it's a
Oh
movie
yeah.
and it's about emails, but it's actually based on an earlier movie where they're writing in letters. And I think Nora Ephron and her sister tied in some of their personal experiences with like
Oh cool.
early chat rooms and like finding love
Oh,
in
that's
the age of writing, but like an earlier. If you want to hear the romanticization of digital writing, I feel like You've Got Mail is a great comparison for that.
that will make you feel like it's actually very
Yes.
to say
In a text
ILY
message.
and XOXO.
Very cute.
Totally. And then is Dear Jack, Dear Louise, is that a movie?
It's a play. I
Oh.
think Dear Jack, Dear Louise is this story about Army Captain Jack Ludwig, who's a military
Mm.
doctor. And then he's writing to Louise Rabiner, who's like an aspiring actress and dancer in New York City. And they meet by letter, which I'm not entirely sure how that happened. I think maybe he was like, I'm
Yeah.
going to war. I need a pen pal. And someone was like, here you go.
Here you go.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
look into it to figure out exactly how that worked, but they end up writing these letters back and forth to each other. And then the war is continuing, and they're worried that their relationship will end before they even meet because, like, he could die
Uh-huh.
and all this stuff. The playwright, Ken Ludwig, is actually telling the story of his parents. Yeah, he found
Oh,
their
no
letters after they
way.
died and was able to write this play based on his parents' love story, where they met by letter and wrote back and forth to each other during World War II.
Dang.
So it has a happy ending because he was
Yeah,
born.
because he exists. Yeah.
But
That's
I just thought that was
magical.
so cute. And that was one of the things that made me think about future generations.
Yeah.
That's such a beautiful legacy to leave behind.
It's a beautiful legacy to leave
I
behind. I had not
know.
heard of that, and I'm like, I gotta go look that one up
I
too.
know. It's so cute.
Magical.
A few other ones. We've got, have you ever seen The Lake House?
Yes.
That one is a really fun one to love letters
Yeah.
as well. Another movie example if you're looking for movies about
It's a
writing your
very
love
kind
down.
of confusing concept because it's don't exist at the same time, but they can exist like they're communicating
Yes.
through love letters.
Hmm.
Very interesting, but would
They're
recommend it.
passing letters back and forth in their mailbox of their house they both live in at different times, but they're only like 2 years apart, I think is how
Yes.
it works.
Huh.
Yeah. So it's a cute one, though. Very cute
Yeah, it
movie
is.
about love
Definitely.
letters. And then just some other kind of like ghost letters is what we're calling it, where it's these letters have an existence that maybe isn't supposed to be there. Maybe they
Yes.
shouldn't
Uh-huh.
be there. And so it's Emily Dickinson, where she instructed her sister to burn all of her correspondence, but then she didn't.
But
But
then
she
maybe
burned
that's why
some.
she's so immortalized, is because we know so
Ooh,
much and have all these
yes.
poems in all of her writings.
Interesting. And then the other one is T.S. Eliot. He had
Mm.
an extensive correspondence with Emily Hale, but then after he married his second wife, he arranged for all of his letters to be
To be
destroyed between
destroyed.
him and Hale.
Oh.
But they weren't. And so now they're like available and we like know all this stuff about his relationship with her. And it's, ooh,
Does
should
feel
we?
very invasive. Yeah, it's like they didn't want us to all know
I
this.
know. And that's what makes it harder. I'm like, oh, but it's like really helpful that we know this. But then it's, oh, but they didn't want this.
Yeah, another example is Beethoven. There was a letter that was discovered after his death in 1827 that was addressed to an unknown woman who Beethoven referred to as immortal beloved, which is intense in a good way.
Yeah.
But it's not really entirely clear who this letter was written to. Some people believed it was intended for Antony Brentano, who was actually a married woman with whom Beethoven had a close relationship with. I'm going to read this. So,
Yeah.
my angel, my very self, why this profound sorrow when necessity speaks? Can our love endure without sacrifices, without our demanding everything from one another? Can you alter the fact that you are not wholly mine, that I am not wholly yours? Dear God, look at nature and all her beauty and set your heart at rest about what must be. Love demands all, and rightly so. No doubt we shall meet soon, and today also time fails me to tell you the thoughts which during these last few days I have been revolving about my life. If our hearts were always closely united, I would certainly entertain no such thoughts. My heart overflows with a longing to tell you so many things. Oh, there are moments when I find that speech is quite inadequate. Be cheerful and be forever my faithful, my only sweetheart, my all, as I am yours. The gods must send us everything else, whatever must and shall be our fate. Your faithful Ludwig. Wow.
Man.
They're in love.
I know, but I'm like, oh, but she might have been married.
She was married. That's not great.
A few other spooky things. Apparently, there's a painting in Charles Trevor Garland's. Oh, it's a replication of Charles Trevor Garland's love letters done by Richard King, and it's hanging in the Driscoll Hotel. And the little girl in the painting has a bouquet of flowers in one hand and a love letter in the other. Okay. And everyone thinks this painting is haunted.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Why?
Because in 1887, the U.S. Senator Temple Leigh Houston's 4-year-old daughter, Samantha, was chasing after a runaway ball when she tripped and fell down the Driscoll Hotel staircase.
Oh my
And apparently she looked really similar to the girl in the love letters painting. So now people are like, oh, her spirit is in the painting. And so people claim that the girl's expression changes when they stare at the painting, or they feel like her eyes watch them when they move, or they feel ill when they look at it, or they feel like they're being like lifted off of their feet. But obviously the girl in the painting's not Samantha Houston. It was a recreation of an older piece. So it wasn't really around during her time. So the possibility of her invading it is not true. But when you look up haunted love letters, this painting of her comes up.
Yeah. Gruesome thing.
And then another one is, have you ever heard of a dead letter office?
No.
I didn't know about this either. Apparently, like when love letters or letters in general never reach their intended recipient, they end up at a holding place where they just hold on to them. And they can open them, I think, at that point to try and figure out context clues to send it to who it needs to go to. But it's undeliverable mail. That's, if they didn't have the stamps right, or if the return address is wrong, or they can't forward the mail because both people move before it can be delivered, then there's this whole idea where they call it dead mail, and it just ends up at this place. But they don't get rid of it because I think destroying mail is an offense.
Yep.
So there's actually been like books written about it and other things. And I think in Miracle on 24th Street, they bring like all of the dead letter mail that was addressed to Santa Claus to the courthouse and everything. So there's like instances where it's popped up, but it's just interesting to think about the idea that there's like all of this dead mail out there that has never been delivered.
Think about the lost love sentiments and like apologies that never make it.
Yeah, and this concept is not new. Tragic. It's been around for a really long time. There's been letters that haven't been able to be delivered. And
yeah.
That's what happens to them.
To think about, like I said.
I know.
All the people who weren't together that could have been.
Yep.
Oh,
and
man.
Then, have you seen Letters to Juliet?
Oh, yes, of course I've seen Letters to Juliet.
Of course.
Exactly. Someone finally answered the letter. Or even like The Notebook. That movie.
Yes.
He writes her letter every day for a year and she never answered them.
Answers them. Yeah. There's a lot of letters. And apparently the whole Letters to Juliet, that's real. It's based on a true thing that happens where people write letters to Juliet in Verona as a part of tourism there. And they actually do have a group of people who try to answer some of them.
That's magical.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, that's really sweet that there's people out there trying to answer all of these letters. Oh, okay. So some art pieces just to end.
Oh, yeah. Amazing.
We have Sophie Call's Take Care of Yourself, which she turned this like a breakup letter into a global art piece and had people like respond to it or talk about it and all these things. And it's this gallery of just all of these different works of art. And it was an email. So I told her it was over and ended with the words, take care of yourself. And so 107 women chosen for their professional skills were able to interpret it. They analyzed it, commented on it, danced to it, sang it, dissect it, exhaust it, understand it for me, answer it for me, and turning this like a new way of breaking up with someone into this art piece with 100 people. So I thought that was amazing.
Yeah. We've talked about it before, the birthday card album on TikTok that started from, it was like a breakup letter.
She got a birthday card.
Oh, yeah, it was the birthday card. Duh. From her ex. And then she created this whole like art project about it.
And she had a bunch of artists like contribute to it and write like songs based on different phrases and stuff. And actually, fun story, she's back with him. Yeah, she got on TikTok and was like, this is awkward because this is how I got popular. And fun fact, we ended up back together. And so she was just like, oh, this is uncomfortable.
I hope he worked out his problems.
Yeah, she said it had been years, obviously, since this had happened.
Yes.
And they worked through a lot of things and he had changed and she was in a different place. And so it all worked out. But that was Laura Wheeler in 2022. And it's like a 12-song album on Spotify that you can literally go and listen to. And then there's another one, Tracy Emin's Neon Love Letters. She turns like these phrases from love letters and stuff into neon signs. There's actually I Promise to Love You collection of a bunch of them. They're really cool. Dang. So definitely go check those out. And then
so much art with
with
love letters.
And then I thought about the fact that there were women who burned love letters.
Burn as in Hamilton?
Yes. Aha. So yeah, like Eliza Hamilton, she destroyed a ton of letters between her and Alexander. And apparently Martha Washington also did. And in her case, it was her husband was being immortalized kind of situation, and she didn't want anything that they had written to each other to destroy his reputation. So she burned all of her love letters between her and George. Which I'm like, maybe he was just being like really flirty and silly with his wife. And then she was like, crap, people are going to take this and turn it into something. And
like, I'm going to protect him. Interesting.
And then apparently it was like a huge trend after World War II as well. A lot of women took their love letters and burned them because they didn't want their words to survive after the war.
Oh, it's like a cleansing of that time period, I guess.
Get rid of that. I thought that was super interesting.
I feel like it'd probably be a little bit more satisfying to burn the letters that you have versus like deleting the post, archiving the Instagram post. Probably feels a little bit better.
Yeah, probably.
I will say I have so many notes. I don't know. I feel like in high school, in junior high, writing notes to each other was like the main thing. It was like the fun thing. You would like write notes to each other and fold it in super extravagant ways. It's like more of a middle school thing. And then like you would pass your friends the notes to read in class that they could read when they had time in class and then write you back. And I still have a whole like old bucket essentially of like all these notes from like all of my friends. And I can like go through, can you believe this? Which bold of all of us to just put that on writing and then pass it around the school. What happens if someone were to have found those?
I know,
we were putting incriminating things on that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
No, I remember that too. Because especially when cell phones weren't allowed. And now you can't tell a kid not to have their cell phone in class. I feel like that's ridiculous. But back then, you had to leave your cell phone in your locker.
So you had to write each other notes.
It was cute.
It was kind of a fun way to, I don't know, keep that like a little time capsule of my
8th
grade years, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I agree. Wholesome. I have screenshots of stuff. I'm like, I guess those live on. I don't know. It's interesting. This digital world, we should romanticize it a little bit more somehow.
You can make it romantic.
I don't know how. Let us know if you have any ideas for that. Like, how could we romanticize this digital age we live in?
Because it doesn't feel very romantic sometimes.
Nope. I'm even trying to think. I'm like, okay, so what? Instead of sending a text, I should write it out and mail it? I'm like, I don't even know anyone's address.
That's the thing is I'd have to be like so sneakily be like, what's your address? I will actually say, so my sister-in-law is pregnant. She is having a really tough first trimester. So me and my little sister, I sent her some money and she like made her little pregnancy care kit.
So cute.
And like gave it to her. And then my sister-in-law texted me randomly asking me what my address was. And I assumed it was for like a baby shower invite. But then she like sent me a handwritten like thank you card of like,
that's so
this
sweet.
is how much this meant to me. And I was like, wow, actually, I should do this. This made me feel so special. This would be a great habit.
Really would.
I need some generic thank you cards that I can send someone.
I know. Whatever. I had a goal this year that I was going to do birthday cards for everyone. And then
that's cute.
I already fell behind. I've been better at birthday presents this year. I usually just forget. Everyone's birthdays are so hard. Yes. Especially like when my family grows and then like crap, there's more of you. I'm trying to get better at it. But I feel like birthday cards is such a sweet little thing that you can do. And I feel like everyone appreciates it. And
yeah.
so
that's really cute. Maybe I'll steal that, but also I'm
Do
also
it.
way behind.
I know. I'm like, I'm just going to try the best I can. I feel like every resolution I set in January was just dashed to the minute this year has gone on. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
2025 is hard.
Yeah.
I don't like this year.
Totally. Tomorrow is another day. We're living the dream.
We've got the whole world ahead of us.
The whole world ahead of us.
But
anyways,
speaking of letters, if you guys are interested, we do a monthly newsletter and now a weekly one as well that's going to tie our episodes into modern pop culture things that are going on. That's a very fun time, and we're getting better at writing in general, which is fun for us.
Practice, because I have not long form written since I graduated college.
Yeah.
And honestly, probably not since my freshman year of college. I was a music major. I wasn't writing a lot of papers.
Yeah, I spent so much time writing, and I only had to take one English class. But I don't know, it was hard sometimes in art school, and they're like, come up with something about this. And we're like, you want us to make a book, but we don't have any material. So it's okay, I guess I'll just write a book.
That's true. To do all
so
this.
Yeah, we did some creative writing exercises a lot of the times. I think it's great. And yeah, you can subscribe. It's just on Substack, which we love.
I know, I love Substack.
More than we use on Substack.
Cool. Thanks for joining us for this kind of musing episode.
Yeah.
Kind of fun just to chill. And we'll see
All of the above.
We'll see you next Monday.
We'll see you then.
Bye.